Welcome to the first edition of Inside Government for the fall 2024 semester here at Cayuga Community College. This is a show that's put on by the college, but is shown on Verizon, Spectrum, as well as played on the college's radio station, WIN 89.1, as well as ARMA, the Auburn Regional Media Access. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. We are delighted to have in the studio Cayuga Community College's president, Brian Durant, who is starting his 10th year here at, if I'm doing my math correctly, and he will correct me, his 10th year here as the president of the college, which has two campuses, one here in Auburn, as well as one in Fulton, but also has a very large online coverage as well. We're going to talk to him over the next half hour about a couple of things. One is enrollment, what is going on with the strategic plan for the college, but more importantly, there are two large building projects he's working on right now. One, workforce development, which is the former Cornell Cooperative Extension, and then a new project up on the Fulton campus for a law enforcement academy. And then in the end, we might talk about something that occurred about 4 months ago here in Auburn. Welcome back.
Good to be here, Guy. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. And so you're about 4 weeks into the semester. How is it going so far?
It's been an exciting fall semester so far. You know, one of the things that we noticed right away during the first week is how many more cars and vehicles have been on our campuses.
Parking has become an issue?
Parking's become an issue, but it's a good problem to have. You know, certainly as we move past the sort of the peak time of the pandemic and the way we delivered education during those times, it's really been nice to see having so much the vibrancy return back to our campuses. And I was talking with some students last week at our wellness center in Auburn, and one of the things that some of the second year students pointed out that's different than the first is just how many more people are on campus, and it's really been an exciting thing to be able to see and certainly feel as part of our college community.
So I don't want to concentrate on COVID, that's not important, but one of the items that was a trend was there was a dive during COVID for enrollment. Is that started to slope up? Or what's going on with enrollment?
Yeah, so certainly, you know, during the pandemic, it was obviously a challenge. We, you know, immediately following the guidelines of the State University of New York, and certainly just all the regular health and safety measures that, you know, we took as steps. Most of our education, all of our education, was essentially delivered online. And so since then, aside from the overall enrollment went, you know, down in a couple of you know, subsequent years, we've been doing two things, right? We've been trying to rebuild our master schedule when it comes to having, you know, classes on campus and programs of study on campus to make sure that the opportunities are there for our students. And we also have been seeing, you know, sort of the growth overall in our enrollment. So the combination of having, you know, last year at the end of the 23-24 year, we had an increase of, I think, about 3% in enrollment, 3 to 4% in enrollment over the previous year. And this year, although early, we're anticipating to have another increase in our enrollment again. And that's really a positive sign about the position of the institution, and it certainly is something that we're excited to be able to celebrate, especially having the balance of students on, you know, back in person on campus, you know, as well as our robust online offerings.
But the downturn in enrollment was not just, obviously not just COVID, but it was not just Cayuga, it was not just New York State, it was across the nation.
Yeah, across the nation. And certainly there have been times where we have seen, you know, sort of decline in enrollment. When you look at the, you know, and I think I've talked previously on this show or other forums, you know, when you look at the overall demographics of our community and our service area, we talk about our service area in general terms, certainly the county of Cayuga, Oswego County with our presence there on our Fulton campus is really kind of looking at those primary counties as well as some of the surrounding areas. So think about it as more of a, you know, a 30 to 45 minute sort of, you know, diameter, if you will, around the campuses. So when we, you know, you see that the projected college going age or the high school demographics are in decline and projected to be, you know, that's obviously a major indicator of what you could anticipate in your enrollment. But us at the college, we've been able to find some stability both in those numbers and our capture, but also trying to, you know, make sure we're positioning ourselves to be attractive for adult learners and other populations itself. And I'm very proud of what our faculty and staff have done to put us in a position to, you know, be attractive and be the right match for many students.
So, as someone once told me here, demographics is destiny. You use a simple example. If I've got the numbers wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. But you have usually said, based on the Auburn district, right, if you get 30%, 29 to 30% every year.
Yeah, I think trend data. Yeah, I think trend data is very important. So when you look back, if you look back historically, we're able to track sort of the percentage of what we capture for each of the respective high school graduating classes. And let's use Auburn as an example. So historically, we have captured, which means of the number of students that graduate from a respective class, say in June of a year, of that graduating class, X percent enrolls at Cayuga that following, the fall. Well, traditionally, in say Auburn, that number has been approximately, 30 to 32% plus or minus. And that goes back, decades really. And so we have that information for every respective district or component district within the service area. And so that usually gives us a great indicator of a significant piece of our base when it comes to current and predicting enrollment. And so, as we look at it, we want to continue to stabilize that area of capture and then identify the moments that we can increase it. How it's related overall to projections, though, back to your point, is if a graduating class, say in Auburn 20 years ago, perhaps was approximately, I'm just making this up, was 450 students in a respective graduating class, 30% of that number is much different than if a class, say, this year is projected to be at 270. So, you're still capturing the same amount of individuals, right? But the overall, obviously the overall head count is in the decline.
So, in a general sense, without getting into what the difference is between an FTE, a full-time equivalency is, roughly how many Cayuga students are there? And I know they're broken down into pieces. We'll get to the pieces.
Yeah.
But overall, arching, what's the number?
So this fall, we anticipate to have about 3,600 students enrolled at the college.
So how many of them are in Auburn, roughly?
Well, that's where the math gets a little tricky because of the way our students enroll. So one of the things, I'll answer the question this way, not to avoid it. So of our student body of about 3,500, 3,600 students, let's use that as a round number, nearly 2,000 of those students, head count, they will be what we call in our Cayuga Advantage program. Those students will be dual credit. They'll be enrolled in high schools as well as taking college classes. And so their students' home campuses, if you will, are spread out through all the component districts.
And that's the largest portion of your student body now.
It's a significant enrollment particularly when it comes to not only the number of credits, but the way we connect with students. It's a powerful and important certainly a part of our mission and our vision as we move ahead to be able to help support the rich curriculum that occurs in high schools. We're able to partner with those districts to be able to offer courses, some taught by our faculty, many taught by teachers that are qualified within the respective high schools, to be able to deliver college level courses to high school students. And it's really a great thing for access and an opportunity to be able to explore and gain momentum towards the future college pursuit.
So does that mean that those students who are in an advantage program will walk away from their high school or could walk away from their high school with an associate's degree?
Yeah, so we have programs in place with many districts that a student, if taking courses intentionally as early as 9th grade, they could put themselves in a position to graduate from high school and with an associate's degree at the same time. We have a history of a few students doing that in Union Springs, for example. That's been a very exciting partnership and thing that's occurred. And we're in the process of building other pathways, working with many districts to be able to provide different pathways that not only align with the possibility of being in place to get an associate's degree, or the opportunity to be able to earn enough credits to put themselves on a pathway towards a single year here associate's degree or a 3-year bachelor's degree. And not only just by offering courses, because that's powerful, right? We offer courses people can explore, they can experiment, and certainly helps our enrollment. But most importantly, we're looking to be able to provide pathways with our partnerships in high school that are going to be able to allow students and families to create such value for themselves that as they move through high school, they're going to earn college credit, they're going to be meeting their high school objectives, being able to put themselves in a position to help accelerate for their future careers, aligned with the local workforce needs. And we're developing pathways that have with healthcare, certainly with criminal justice. We're looking at human services and business and education. So we have a number of pathways that are going to be in place that we think align community need when it comes to human resource development or economic development, and also being able to identify pathways that we think align with general student interest. And so it's an exciting thing. It's been a big piece of our strategic plan. And it's certainly something that we're going to continue to move forward on to be able to build something even more robust than already exists.
But where there's that upside of these students in high school, and some of them will walk out with degrees, that also means that they are not necessarily going to be in a pool that will graduate from high school and come to Cayuga. So you lose out on them at that point.
Yeah, in one way you can say you're losing out, but in the way that I look at it is that's an additional population that we're connecting with beyond that 30% we spoke of in Auburn, right? So now if you looked at it the way that I encourage us to, is not only would we capture perhaps 30% of the students that graduate every year from Auburn, but how many students that were enrolled at Auburn, or certainly down in Moravia, or in Fulton, how many of those students that perhaps chose somewhere else to go or go right into the workplace have taken a Cayuga class along the way? So not only are we serving our students who are matriculate in with a pursuit of a degree or a micro-credential or a certificate, but we're able to provide access to courses and information and learning to many, many others, and that's a great part of our tradition.
So I want to go back to the 3,600 number. If you came to campus today, which is a Tuesday, or yesterday, a Monday, on average, how many students are on campus at a given time?
So on each of our campuses on a given day, you would see, we looked last year, now it would be much larger this year. Last year when we looked at a snapshot, you would see, probably about 300 students or so on each respective day would have some classes here.
Here in Auburn?
Here in Auburn, slightly less than that in Fulton, but that's only the number of students that we can track that actually had an actual class today. Students that are coming in and taking advantage of services and certainly of facilities, that would be an additional, certainly additional presence that's there.
And then there's a larger group that are your online students.
Yeah.
How large is that pool?
Well, so that's the powerful thing or amazing thing about the Cayuga student demographic. So, when we talk about, you can't talk about any of these numbers actually in real absolute, because when we look at our student, a typical full-time student here, let's say that they're registered for 5 classes. Well, if we look at the way our students traditionally enroll, a student may have 3 classes in person, and then they may have 2 classes that would be online or from a distance. And so when we look down at our FTE breakout, we know that the typical Cayuga student is taking classes in person, they're taking classes online, they're balancing out work and life and other responsibilities. And so that's part of the amazing resilience that our students show. And that's also part of the complication when we try to explain about, who we are and how the numbers work when it comes to enrollment. We certainly know what students are enrolling in based on each of the classes on campus, Fulton, Auburn, online, in a high school, in a prison education program, whatever it may be. And that's important information. But when we look at it from the way we want to serve our students, that we want to help make sure students are achieving success, we really want to focus on the fact that we understand that some students are really more of a hybrid when they're coming to their balancing in person and online. And our faculty do a great job of delivering high quality in both ways.
And it should be said that Cayuga was a leader in online education. This is pre-COVID.
Yeah, no, certainly.
You were ready to hit the ground running anyway.
Yeah, going back decades, Cayuga was really a visionary in the space of online education, building out courses and disciplines that, really was a leader. Like when you talk about courses, say, in anatomy and physiology and the other traditional sciences, our Cayuga's always been committed to offering high quality courses with, appropriate level of rigor, and it's been something that, certainly was a lead and positioned us very well to be able to pivot and to know that the quality was seamless when it came to providing that service online.
So if you were to go back in time, I know that's not a good example for you, but if you were to go back in time, how has a community college changed from, let's say, 1974 to 2024?
Well, I think, when you look at the way community colleges have evolved over time, certainly I think both community colleges, if you go back to 1974 and you go to the 80s and the 90s, when you look at the demographics, whether you're urban or rural is always a factor. But if we look sort of back, say at Cayuga, we don't even have to go back that far to see some of the changes. So, for example, 10 years ago when I arrived, I looked at the data, and at that time, nearly 70% of our student body was full-time. In recent years, we looked at that, and nearly 70% of our student body is part-time. Right there just shows the shift of how students are enrolling and how they're balancing out their courses. Now, some of that certainly is related to other endeavors like the high school program or prison program when it comes to sheer numbers, but the number of credits people have been taking historically has evolved. The number of individuals and what their goals have evolved. Back in the 70s and 80s, the pursuit of an associate's degree and then moving into the workplace was was certainly one of the, more dominant traits and reasons why people were looking at the colleges. Remember, community colleges are founded to provide, high quality, affordable, and access to local community. So I'm very much focused on that. Also then having a number of pathways, certainly for for bachelor's degrees pursuit as well. At Cayuga, over the years, not only do we traditionally have the same thing, right? We have 60% of our graduates transfer to four-year schools, which means the other 40% are either already in career, maybe are looking to adjust where they're currently at, or are in the pursuit of their career as they move on. So it's not always just a pathway to a bachelor's degree. And then in addition to that, we have certificates, we have micro-credentials, we have a number of non-credit courses and credentialing opportunities that we offer for students. It really is sort of a multitude of ways to deliver, and it really is individualized, which is something we're proud of.
I want to get into two examples of that other than just a two-year degree here, but you mentioned the strategic plan. What is that, and what is the overview of that?
So the strategic plan that was approved by our trustees nearly 2 years ago and is one that we're in the second year of implementation is something that we framed as Cayuga Unbound. Charting a new path in a
UNBOUND.
Yes.
Okay.
Charting our new path in a collaborative world. And, the spirit of this plan is really focused on the fact that, we understand as an institution that we are more powerful and better positioned by working with others, aligning our initiatives with others, and making sure that we're grounded really in student success. And so the top sort of strategic priority of this strategic plan is focused on we're going to improve our student learning outcomes. And that when we talk about that, we're focused on things like graduation and retention. We certainly are looking at course completion and really how the way students are engaged with us. And this plan, obviously, we used it as a vehicle. The development of this plan from a leadership perspective was done to be able to help hear from the various community members within the faculty, the staff, certainly our trustees, of what people thought we should be focused on, where should the work go, what are the priorities. And together we built really our strategic plan in a collaborative way. It was an amazing service leadership opportunity for me to be able to say, I want to hear us as we're moving back to in-person work and when we're moving forward, what should we be focused on and why, and how will we get there? And so our priorities that we laid out are really focused on improving student success outcomes. We want to leverage our partnerships, and we have a number of countless partnerships we've had been successful on in recent years when it comes to not only, when it comes to academic programming and internships and practicum experiences and many other opportunities for students to learn, but we also have the facility ones, right? When we partnered with things like Falcon Park and being able to, work with the city of Auburn to be able to create an athletic facility for the first time for the college. Or, you can go on and on. Right now we're working on an exciting one, a partnership related to our law enforcement academy on our Fulton campus. Again, in a collaborative world, so we are focused on doing things that are aligning with community need, institutional mission, and certainly letting those be crystallizing our vision.
So you mentioned Law Enforcement Academy. What is that? Where is that? And what will it do?
So the Law Enforcement Academy, it's in its sort of late stages of it's a renovation of a facility that the college leases up on our Fulton campus. And this particular endeavor goes back now nearly 2 years, where our criminal justice faculty were engaged with law enforcement officials in Oswego County Sheriff's Department and other law enforcement leaders across the region about the facility needs that existed when it comes to helping to train and support, the future police during the academy process.
Because there's a limited number of slots right now.
There's a limited number of slots. It can be costly. It can be, the demographics, the geographics to help send people to them. And, what I learned through this process is there was a really proud history in Oswego County of offering an academy there within the county and having, people participate. This partnership has allowed us to, and with the generous support of the County of Oswego and our college foundation, we have been able to put ourselves in a position to build, over a $1.2 million facility that's going to be state-of-the-art, that's going to have, rooms for classrooms, rooms for, certainly physical education, for simulation for firearms. But what it really is going to do, it's going to move an academy that hopefully one day will have 50 to 60 in it at a time to be able to participate, meet all the qualifications for their job after they get hired. And the other beautiful thing our faculty are working on is being able to come up with some reciprocal agreements that will allow some of our students to participate in the academy while a student here, to be able to sort of get access and credentialing along the way within the academy, as well as while they're earning their degree
So will
here.
it be both ways, that you will have people in the academy who might get an associate's degree from Cayuga, and at the same time, somebody who might be in the criminal justice program that can access the academy?
Absolutely. Individuals who've already been hired and are part of the academy, I mean, that's a great captive audience for us to say, listen, how can we then take your credentials, your other educational background, perhaps some additional prior learning assessment, and say, we can meet with you and put you on a path to be able to complete your associate's degree and position you for a future bachelor's degree that you may want to pursue.
And this has a very large contribution, first-time contribution by the County of Oswego, correct?
Yeah, a very large contribution that we're proud of. It's $400,000 and certainly money, but lots of time and passion related to the leaders up there. I cannot thank them enough. It would not have happened without their support and generosity.
Will it only be Oswego County residents who can go to the academy?
No, we've had conversations with leadership here in Cayuga County and Auburn along the way, many other agencies, and we're hoping that as it gets up and running, that multiple municipalities will be able to partner and take part of it. I think the other exciting thing to note here is we've already had a record, even while this is being built, by just having sort of the relationships that have existed. We've already been leveraging our Fulton campus in recent years to have a number of professional development workshops and other training for many different types of law enforcement
So you have an
agencies.
advanced manufacturing institute up there that the college built 2 years ago?
Yeah.
When do you hope to have the project done, and when do you done is different than when will you have your
Right.
first class?
So we anticipate the actual construction aspect of the project here to be done in the coming weeks, hoping by around November 1st. And then my understanding is that the next round of the academy is hoping to start in spring, March or April, and that will be the first time we'll bring a full academy to the campus if everything stays on schedule.
So you're doing that up in Fulton. Down here, if you go on Grand Ave, you pass by the old cooperative extension. There's a lot of Cayuga red, CCC red there. What is going on there?
So this project has been in the making for a number of years. It's the Workforce Development Center, and it's another project we're very proud of. Certainly would not be possible without the support of a Red Sea process back in several years ago, which allowed us to get funding
That's
from
the
ESD.
state,
It's
regional
state funding.
economic development.
Right. We put a proposal in a number of years ago for that project to help us to build this Workforce Development Center, and so we had state support. We've had support from some local philanthropic groups, our local foundation, and a number of other sources along the way to be able to get us to the point. It's over, this is going to end up being over a $4.5 million project that is certainly on one of the most visible areas or streets, and certainly in Auburn on Grand Avenue. And we're very proud of this project, because the Workforce Development Center for me and for our trustees is not only just a visual representation, but also the space of how important the college and education is to be centered on, on the workforce and on developing our community. And within this facility, there's going to be a number of partners, right? Our Cayuga, certainly we're going to have Cornell Cooperative Extension of Cayuga County is going to be a partner within the building. We have the Cayuga Work Center that's currently housed on the Auburn campus that represents the county's Office of Employment and Training. It certainly is the Department of Labor and other services. They will be relocating in that space, when the time comes and when appropriate. And then we have our own sort of workforce entity and continuing education area that's going to be able to move down there. So think about it as a one-stop shop and a highly centralized areas for things from unemployment to training to community meetings and engagement. Companies are going to be able to go and utilize it for training, and hopefully we'll continue to build out the number of opportunities that we have for the community through that facility.
So a couple of small fill-in-the-blanks. So you've had contributions from Fred L. Emerson Foundation, the D. French Foundation, Stanley Metcalf Foundation. They've all helped on that. You have this Red Sea money on there. Cornell Cooperative Extension also helped initially, correct?
Yeah, it helped with the donation of the building to the college.
And so they are here at the college now.
Yep.
They're going to move back over there.
Correct.
When do you hope to have that open?
So that construction we're hoping will be concluded by the end of 2024 in November, December, with a transition around that time as well.
And you had some delays because of COVID.
Yeah, that's had delays from COVID, and certainly we had The cost came in a little higher than we anticipated originally, primarily because all the costs have gone up in recent years. And so anytime you have a project that you plan once, if it takes some time to get funded, it goes there. But once we get to cross this finish line and open these doors, it's another moment for us we're proud of, and we're looking forward to the possibilities that it can help create.
So will there be also opportunities there to get a degree, or is that certificate program? I mean, there's classroom space in the
there's a number of classroom space there, and so a lot of the experience that'll happen there at this point it would be to be able to support the training and the classes that go on through our non-credit. Certainly the trainings and workshops that Department of Labor and the county's Office of Employment and Training provide. And the future possibilities, I think, really are going to be endless. Once we get the facility open, then we'll start to do a gap analysis for what we think we can do to help enhance community, what needs may exist, and we'll look to create the things that can support those.
So we talked in Fulton about partnerships up there. You obviously have the workforce development partnership with the Department of Labor, Workforce Development, Cornell Cooperative Extension. But one of the earlier partnerships you did was Falcon Park there. Back in May, you had commencement, but you had to move commencement by one day because of why?
So we had to move commencement one day because the next day we were hosting a regional championship for the region baseball tournament. And that was an exciting piece because that brought teams from really sort of all across New York State that play in the same sort of conference or that we do to come in and be able to do their championship. And then 2 weeks after that, around Memorial Day weekend, we were the host this year for the World Series for the NJCAA, and it was a really exciting thing.
That's a national. So for those, I know
we're an acronym.
You're a sports guy too.
Yeah.
So it's the junior NCAA baseball. Okay. Yeah. So you had how many teams at that point?
So we had 8 teams come in from all over the country. We had teams from Texas and New Jersey, and when we had teams come in, here's what it brought, right? When we talk about, here's what it brought to the community. We worked with a number of partners and very much appreciated their patience with us and working with us. We're talking about, well over 100 hotel rooms. We're talking about several days in restaurants. We're talking about individuals. Those were just the teams.
So this was good for the college, but it's more importantly good for all.
Yeah, this is a really good opportunity for the community on a great weekend. And so having something like Falcon Park that's beautiful with turf, that can play, immediately after, inclement weather, and certainly having the hotels that exist here and the
I think
welcoming
Herkimer
community.
played it. It felt like midnight.
Yeah, Herkimer. It was a late one. The lights helped a lot that day. But the reality of it is having this asset that we created with partners that continues to serve our teams well has been not only, I think, served our college well, but has provided even more opportunities beyond what we thought. If you would have said 10 years ago that we would have been able to host a regional tournament, I would have said absolutely. Being able to host an NJCAA event, having teams from all over to be able to showcase Auburn, New York, showcase Cayuga County and our surrounding area, and certainly showcase a field that we're all proud of here was absolutely amazing.
And did Cayuga have a team in play?
Cayuga did not have a team in play this year for that, but you know what? A number of our student athletes volunteered or worked and participated, and just was a great representation of our athletic program.
So is this a one-off? 2024 is done, and you're
nope,
done?
Stay tuned. We're hosting it again this year, Memorial Day weekend, and we're looking to. We've had great conversations with the city about other ways we can help market it and try to get individuals to come out and check out the teams.
So you're already planning. Is there anything dramatically you would change from what you did this year? I mean, you got a late start only because...
Yeah, we got a late start with the announcement. And, honestly, as we worked and learned about the scale and the scope, I think this year as we're focused on it, we're going to try to look for creative ways to, increase participation and try to get the Little League teams out, programs out, and get other youth involved and other families involved. And it really was an amazing event that we're very much looking forward to hosting again, and we're gonna market as well as we can to try to make it another great event on Memorial Day weekend here in Auburn, New York.
So I know there's a lot of other things going on at the college, so hopefully you'll come back in, if not before the end of this semester, the beginning of February when you come back for the spring.
I look forward to it.
But our guest has been Cayuga Community College's president, Brian Durant, who is starting his 10th year here at the college. And as we mentioned throughout the show, there's been a lot of building and a lot of projects going on, and they still keep going. So we look forward to having you back in the studio. We'll be back on Thursday with 2 back-to-back Inside Governments. We'll have Cayuga County's District Attorney, Brittany Grome-Antonachian, for an update about what her office does and what she's seeing in trends in law enforcement. We'll also be followed by that with the Auburn Large School District's new superintendent, Misty Slavic, who will be here with the outgoing superintendent of schools, Jeff Parazola, talk about their transition, but also as well in recent last 10 days, there's been some safety concerns with threats, and we'll be talking about that with them. We'll also have next week, Mayor Jimmy Giannantino will be in here, Sheriff Brian Schenk, as well as Police Chief Jimmy Sladen will be in to talk also about public safety as well. We'll also have the Auburn Education Foundation in to talk about their Gobble and Go event in a couple of weeks. In the next month, though, we do have several forums planned for candidates for office. We'll start on October 17th with the forum for 48th Senate District that is held currently by incumbent Rachel May. She's being challenged by Caleb Slater, who oddly enough is a Cayuga grad, and they will be in the studio. We'll also have for the 126th Assembly District on October 22nd. That's incumbent John Lamondes, as well as Ian Phillips, who is his challenger. There will be an interview with the 22nd Congressman Brandon Williams, who will be here on October 24th. As per our rules in the past, we offer times to both candidates to come in for a forum. If one accepts and the other does not either respond or doesn't want to participate, we give that time period to the one who accepts, so we keep everything even. At this point, Senator John Mannion has not agreed to any of the dates that we've provided for that forum. As per past practice, I will moderate the forums, and Robert Harding, the Government and Public Policy reporter for The Citizen, will be asking the questions. We'd like to let you know that other than the forums, you can let us know what questions you would like to have, what guests you would like us to invite on by contacting us at cozguytho@aol.com. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. We hope you have a good night. Have a great tomorrow. We'll see you back in the studio on Thursday with the two superintendents as well as the district attorney.